What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. This is Luke Cage, Season 1, Episode 13, Season Finale. You know my Steez. And I loved it, but I hated it at the same time. Now I'll explain why. The beginning of it, absolutely brilliant. The fight was awesome. Just watching some of the emotions and some of the correlation between that, and then they were flashing back to a moment where Carl was having to fight a bully in the ring, and like trying to prove his point. And apparently Willis was helping him, showing him how to fight, helping him learn how to box. And you see the correlation. And there's that one moment where he's just pounding him into the truck, and you hear Willis telling young Carl, like, just wear him out, let him wear himself out, take the hits. And he's doing that right then. I'm just like, I love what they're showing right now. It was absolutely brilliant. And it was also kind of heartbreaking as well, because you see they flash back and then they're friends, and they're working together, and Willis is helping him, and then he's using that information later on to actually fight Willis. And it's really kind of sad to see Willis cheering him on as he's winning the fight, and then flash forward and he's beating Willis now. And that reap what you sow line just really drove it home for me. I'm like, wow, that is really emotional and sad. But the entire fight was awesome. And everything after that, for the most part, was good. And then the ending pissed me the hell off. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, all the stuff in between. You got Luke finally getting to prove that he's innocent with everything. Willis is getting blamed for every death that was pinned on Luke. The officer, Damon Boone. They're also trying to pin Cornell on him, but Misty's fighting hard to make sure that sticks on Mariah. And so all this is going on. I'm thinking, okay, so we see a moment where Candace gets a text from Misty saying, meet me somewhere. I'm like, that's not good, but it's okay. Maybe they'll realize in the nick of time that she needs help. No. It all does not work out in the end. And on the one hand, you could say, oh, well, that's a bit more realistic. So most of the time it would end on, oh, everything's awesome, everything's great, we're all happy here. So it's a bit interesting for it to end on not a happy note. And while I agree, I think that by the end of this, it feels like the bad guys won. The main villain, Diamondback, Willis Stryker, he lost. But another villain won. Because Luke Cage got outed as Carl Lucas. He's now going back to prison. Mariah is off scot-clean. Shades is off scot-clean. They're back to running the club and everything's hunky-dory with them. It feels like they won. And honestly, seeing Mariah break down at one point, I'm like, see, this is what I've been wanting to see. I've been wanting to see her just kind of like when Cottonmouth was freaking out in that one episode when Luke had taken all of his money. It was so fun to see him freak out. It was fun seeing her freak out for a second until they realized Candace is dead, and then all of a sudden she's back to her smart ass, like, oh, I've got everything under control. I hate that. I hate the fact that they were not able to wipe the smug look off her face. She left with the smug look on her face. And as Luke's being put into the car to be taken back to jail, he looks over and she's doing an interview with a smile on her face like, oh, I'm the best. Nobody can beat me. I'm like, you were beaten, but because of this stupid system. And then, God, everything that came out of their mouths near the end pissed me off so bad. I mean, what's her face? Priscilla, the IA lady, blaming Misty for not trusting the system when it's the system that's failed them this entire time. Are you freaking kidding me? You're gonna blame her for all of this when the system was the one that let Cottonmouth out in the first place. Are you stupid? Or do you just want to find some reason to blame her because she's a better cop than you are? That pissed me off. And then as they're taking Carl back to prison, I can't remember what exactly was said, but it pretty much was like a, you're still guilty. First of all, he wasn't guilty to begin with. He was framed. So that should be taken into account. Second of all, why on earth is he going back to prison after what happened to him? Like, I'm pretty sure you take this to court and say, okay, let's look at how he escaped. He was nearly beaten to death. He was experimented on. I don't think he's going back to prison. No, I don't think he should go back to prison. It would be like, there's an undercover conspiracy going on at the prison. There was underground fighting, and he was experimented on after he was beaten half to death. And you're telling me that, yeah, he's going back to prison. Seriously? Come on. Like, that is law 101. If a prisoner went through all of that, and it was based inside the prison system, that one Rackham guy was behind it all, you're telling me that they could not get him out of prison based on that, based on what he did. If anything, Carl should be able to sue them for what they did. But no, he's going back to prison because he's a criminal. He owes Georgia time. No, 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 1,000 times no. This should not be happening. None of this should be happening. The Mariah thing, okay, maybe, but even then, all I can think is there should be enough circumstantial evidence to hold her and do more investigating. But once again, just like with Cottonmouth, even though all the circumstantial evidence is there, they're like, but we don't have any decisive evidence, so we can't hold him. Since when? Since when can you not hold somebody when you've got circumstantial evidence? Like, that's... Most of the time, circumstantial evidence is what gets you your suspects, you bring them in, and you search for decisive evidence. But it's like this IA lady, once again, we don't have decisive evidence, we gotta let her go. You're stupid. You don't let a possible criminal back out on the street just because you don't have decisive evidence. If enough evidence points to her that's circumstantial, you can hold her, and you can go find decisive evidence. Like, they don't know how to police, at least what I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the cops have been doing it wrong this entire time. Maybe they actually need decisive evidence before they can actually bring somebody in to hold them. Maybe you actually need decisive evidence to actually hold somebody. If that's the case, then they've been doing it wrong this entire time. I honestly hate the fact that I'm so upset by this ending, because honestly, the first part of it, like I said, was amazing. And this entire season has been amazing, but I'll talk about that in a second. So the fact that it ended on this note that just really pissed me off and made me feel like none of this feels right, I really hate that. Because I don't want to look back on this show and be like, oh, well, it ended really stupidly. Because I don't want that to be how I remember the show. This show is really good. But the way it ended, at least for this first season, maybe the second season will pick up. But I don't want to have to wait for the second season for things to pick up back into good again. It ended on such a poor note that I feel like that's what I'm going to remember. I'm going to remember how it ended and remember that I got really pissed off by the ending. I don't want that for this show, and that's why I'm so upset by this. That's why I'm more upset than I probably should be. I don't want this show to have that note of, ooh, but how did it end, though? It was not that good. So that was frustrating. But as far as the show goes overall, that was just my opinion on this episode. Great start, poor ending. As far as the show goes, overall, like I said, great show. I would probably rank it somewhere in between Daredevil and Jessica Jones, which I already rate really highly on both of them. I think it matched that balance of it had good action scenes like Daredevil, but it also had much more personal, psyche, in-depth evaluation like Jessica Jones did. I feel like it matched that balance very well, and just somewhere in the middle of the two, it was very personal. It felt very realistic, in my opinion. And Daredevil is awesome. I don't think a show has been done like Daredevil was done. It was very well shot. The action was really good. It was a very good show. It's hard to think of many shows that can top Daredevil. Luke Cage comes very close to it. I think they did a great job with the season. I think one of the things that defines most great shows is when you look at the beginning and then you look at how it ended. In Daredevil in both seasons, the beginning of the show, you're just like, okay, I can see kind of where this is going. I have opinions here. And then you look at the end, you're like, I had no clue that this was where the show was going. Jessica Jones had kind of the same thing, but not as much. You could kind of guess where some of it was going, but overall, I think the way it ended was kind of shocking, and some of the chances they took. Luke Cage, I remember, I could probably go back and watch some of the reviews of the first couple episodes. I remember thinking, okay, like, Cottonmouth and Mariah and then Chico and Pop. I remember looking back now at that, and all I can think is, I was completely off. Like, I had no clue what was in store for this season. The chances they took, the story routes that it took, so many different things that they did for this season really just brought it home and just really nailed it. I think whenever a show can do that, whenever a show can play with your expectations like that, make you think you're getting one thing, and then end the season on such a powerful note that has nothing to do with how you thought the first part of the season, I think that's really, really well done. And I mean, I can't think of many people that would actually start watching from episode 1 and say, oh yeah, I know exactly where this is going, and actually get it right. Like, that's one of the clever things about the show. They did it very well. It was a good emotional story tied into. It wasn't just some like, oh, we're doing this and now we're doing this. There was a connection between it. There was good fluidity in the story and how it was told. This was a really, really good season, and if it were not for that ending, I would say it was perfect. The ending is the only thing that I think kind of messes up the show for me, and just because that's how I'm going to remember it, is by that ending. Most of the time when you end a show, you want to end it on a, not necessarily always on a happy note. It doesn't have to be happy for it to be good, but you do want to end it on a note where your viewers are like, awesome, I want to tune in for season 2. This does not make me want to tune in for season 2 because Mariah is getting away with it again, Shades is getting away with it again, and Luke is back where he started. And, the final message was a good tie-in, sometimes backward to move forward. I get what they're trying to say, but at the same time, it feels very unrealistic to me that Luke would be going back to prison despite what happened, and that Mariah would be getting away with all of this scot-clean despite what happened. So, those are my minor gripes, but they are gripes. They are stuff that does affect my opinion of the final episode. It makes me frustrated, and unfortunately that's what I'm going to remember as the final part of it. The last thing that happens frustrated me. So that is the unfortunate truth, but I don't think that takes away anything from the rest of the season. I think, like I said, really good show. Just needed a better ending is all. So those are my thoughts on this episode and the season overall. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this season? Were you as upset by the ending as I was? Let me know all that, and we can discuss it and all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Marvel Netflix shows, reviews, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and finally Defenders. We've got a good little lineup set for the future, so I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are too. So leave that like and subscribe to get ready for those, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Peace out.